Welcome back to the MENC Network stage. I'm here with Jody Kerchener, Professor and Director of Music Education at Oberlin College in Ohio. And Jody, you were just on a panel about integrating music, general music, with the other academic subjects at school. I understand you teach teachers how to do that, and you also are volunteering as a middle school teacher yourself.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how teachers can approach an interdisciplinary program.
Yeah. First of all, I think that integrating the arts, integrating music into other curricular subjects is just good teaching in general, in that we're expanding the context for music and situating it, making it real to the kids, helping them make connections between other curricular subjects. So I think teachers often feel overwhelmed by the thought of integrating with other curricular subjects. And maybe even losing some of the authenticity that music might have. So the question becomes, how do we maintain authenticity in music? So I think it can be really easy. I think that we can take a traditional humanities approach where we're looking at core subjects in a chronological way and infusing, well, what are the arts doing at certain points in history? Another model is an integrated arts approach and curricular approach, where we've got the core subjects, the math, the science, what have you, and then the arts are on the periphery. So they kind of are supporting the core. But what we're thinking about today in the panel is how can we maintain authenticity in music and teach music while also showing connections as whole subjects with other subject
So what you were talking about is really making sure that the music component of this interdisciplinary approach is really valid musically today.
It is, and that it's relevant to what the students are doing, not only inside the classroom, but outside. So we're making connections, seeing how all the subjects can be relevant, rather than just memorizing facts or talking about music, but doing it.
Right, and now do you think that on the flip side of that conversation is that teachers who are music teachers and maybe understand a little bit about history, but weren't history majors or weren't math majors or physics majors, do they feel a little intimidated by those subjects? And if they do, how do they draw from their colleagues who really are experts there?
Yeah, I think it's you know, we as musician teachers, we are the experts in music, and so I think that we need to kind of stick to where we are. Certainly not putting our perspective of other subject areas in there, but I think it's a perfect way to collaborate with other educators. So so many times our peers and administration doesn't know what we do in music and how we are a way of knowing a subject of cognition like math or science or whatever. So I think that we pull together and see how we can help each other in the curriculum.
Right, and you know, earlier I was talking to a teacher who was working with an elementary population, and most elementary schools, there's one classroom teacher and then there's a music teacher. In middle and high schools, you're talking about subject teachers and music teachers. How are those relationships different?
Yeah, I think it might become more territorial, certainly, and there's certainly schedule issues that one has to deal with. But in our panel, we were talking about a related arts new model where it's a course that could be a year-long course where the teachers are actually taking turns showing students connections, so that music teacher might find a common element among a certain historical period of time. After a week of working with students in music, the history teacher could do her thing or his thing, the math teacher, etc. So that they're sharing the responsibility for teaching these connections.
Right, and now you had a chance to talk to teachers. I'm assuming that some of the teachers in your audience have been working in interdisciplinary situations, and maybe some either have been or and been struggling with it or haven't tried it yet. What kinds of questions were they giving you about working with other disciplines?
Yeah, one of the questions came directly from the performers, as in how can I, a primary performer who's now going into the schools maybe as an artist teacher or an artist in residence, how can we hook into other curricular areas? How do we set up these connections, and how can the music teacher be the facilitator? What if there's no music teacher there and the artist in residence is in lieu of music at secondary school level? So that was one area. The other was, how do we get administration to buy into this
Right.
time sharing of subject area if we are doing a course that involves three educators? What can we bring in more students? How can we maintain the authenticity of music so that it doesn't appear as a maidservant, a manservant of another subject?
Right, sure.
So that it is music for music's sake,
Right.
without getting watered down.
So in terms of resources for teachers, and again, now putting on your hat as a teacher of teachers, what are some ways that teachers can build their curricula and approach their administration, as you were just saying? How can they get started in creating these interdisciplinary programs?
Sure. I think one first needs to identify, who can you work within your school district? Right. Who is it? Who are the other teachers that could come on board? And I think that if you show that it's across disciplines, that's a big deal these days with administration. How do we build these connections? And so that in and of itself is a platform that's going to be appealing. But there are other resources, such as in MENC. You can go to the menc.org website and search for standards 8 and 9, which deal with relating to other arts and other curricular areas. And there's a plethora of lesson plans that are already there. If one feels uncertain, how might I do the actual integration in my music class? Right. If there are no other teachers who are assisting in the integrative process.
Right. Jody Kerchener, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.